Okay. Let's try that.
Okay, try again. My name is Fiona Allen. I'm a recreational therapist with Avocation Therapy, which is a home and community-based recreational therapy company based here in Bryan. And I'm here to talk to you about recreation and leisure and wellness and looking at the whole person when we're considering those things. So the title of today's presentation is Wanting Something Isn't Enough, Creating Motivation for Life's Needs. So our objectives for today are you're going to understand what wellness is and how that fits into the 5 domains of health. We'll discuss how you determine the right recreation and leisure activity for you or your loved one. And then we'll identify resources that are available in the community. And we will look at both locally here in the Brazos Valley. We'll look statewide, national, and virtual recreation for people with disabilities. The next slide. There we go. So a little bit of my background. I'm a recreational therapist. I've been a rec therapist since 2016. I started Avocation Therapy in 2020, and I provide therapy through the Medicaid waiver programs, the Yes waiver, class waiver programs, as well as private pay. I also run some programs for College Station Parks and Recreation. We started a bocce program this year, and we'll be starting a inclusive adaptive camp this summer. And I've gotten to travel with some bocce players internationally. So that's what some of those photos are me with Bridget is a international bocce player for the US team. So I wanted to ask what you feel is the biggest barrier for you or your loved one to be able to access inclusive recreation experiences in your community. So you can put it in the chat or unmute yourself if you want, and just let us know what you think your barriers are in your family to accessing inclusive recreation. Anybody wants to share? So often barriers are there's not support provided. Sometimes it can be a physical barrier, like you can't get in the building. Sometimes it can be a training barrier or a lack of education with that particular experience. So there can be a lot of barriers to accessing recreation. It also can be fear on the side of the family or where you're trying to access, fear of it not being accessible, the people not understanding how to support your child or yourself in that community. So there's a lot of reasons. Someone said, for my nephew, who is an adult with autism, showing up alone without a buddy because he does not seek out his friends on his own and he doesn't want to go alone. So that's a barrier. That's definitely a good one to share. Anyone else have anything to share? Feel free to put it in the chat if you want to share later on. We're going to move on. So what is wellness? Wellness is taking into account the whole person. So it's thinking of more than just physical health. I think often people think about that being healthy is your physical health. How much do you weigh? How much do you eat? Healthy foods? Are you engaging in physical activity? And that defines how healthy you are. And wellness kind of thinks about that as a broader term. Looks at the whole person, how their lifestyle choices influence how their whole health is, how they feel emotionally, spiritually, cognitively, as well as physically. So the Global Wellness Institute defines wellness as the active pursuit of activities, choices, and lifestyle that lead to a state of holistic health. So looking at the whole person. So we're going to examine what it means to have holistic health. What are all the domains of health? And then the active pursuit. How do you pursue those activities that will then lead to those various domains of health, being healthy in all the different areas? So the 5 domains of health are the physical, um, domain, which I think is what people think of first. Then there's the social, and that's interacting with other people. Emotional health, so how you're feeling. Spiritual health, whether you're feeling like you have purpose and meaning in life. And cognitive health, which is like, are you being challenged? Are you getting to think about things that make you feel good? So we're going to examine each of these 5 domains of health and give some examples of what they mean. So physical health is working towards a healthier body through exercise, nutrition, or sleep. So examples of this is going for a walk outside, going to the gym for 30 minutes, eating healthy fruits and vegetables, getting 8 hours of sleep, drinking enough water. But those can feel very unattainable if your other areas of health are out of whack, or you don't have those areas fulfilled as well. So sometimes people think, oh, I have to do all these things in order to achieve physical health, but you actually need to look a little deeper at the other areas of health first and address those, and then come back to addressing the physical health, because that will give you the motivation and the meaning in order to work towards physical health. If you hate going running, then going to the gym is going to be a big, and running on a treadmill is going to be a massive barrier because it's not something you enjoy. But if you enjoy doing it with a friend, or you enjoy doing it outside, or identifying areas where you will have the motivation in order to achieve that physical health. So it's looking at beyond just the physicality. So social health is connecting with our friends and our family and our greater community in a meaningful way. So this can be, an example, this could be just within your own family, choosing some days of the week where you all sit down together, come together, eat dinner together as a family, share about your day. It could be playing a game with friends, either at home, it could be out in the community, it could be attending a recreation activity out in the community. It doesn't always have to be participating in that recreation activity. It could be going as a fan, going to watch other people engage in physical activity, cheer them on. It could be going to a park, sitting outside. There's a whole variety of ways that you can engage in the community without having to kind of throw yourself into a brand new community and make it feel like this big, it's kind of scary task. But you can kind of break it down into smaller pieces. How can you engage with other people and take it little steps at a time? Emotional health is having a safe space to express those thoughts and feelings. It's using your coping skills to help manage your emotions, so such as deep breathing, going to a safe space to calm down. It's sharing your thoughts and feelings with other people. And it's kind of identifying what are the feelings underneath that are causing maybe some other behavior. So I'm sure you've probably heard this before, probably in Purposeful Life, that behavior is communication. And there's often an underlying emotion and feeling that is causing a certain type of behavior. And so if we can figure out what that person is feeling, asking them how they're doing, getting to that root cause of the behavior, then that can help people to help process and manage their emotions. So learning some coping skills and having a safe space to express those feelings. And also, I think as a parent, you are often that safe space for your child. And so knowing that your child is not trying to give you a hard time, they're having a hard time, and that you are their safe space. And that's actually a compliment if they are having their bigger and stronger emotions when they're with you. That means that you are that safe space and that safe person for them to express their emotions. And having a space for them to do that is normal and healthy for them. Spiritual health is one that I think is often overlooked, especially if you're not someone who practices a religion or is involved in a faith community. And because I think that's often when we think about spirituality as being involved in a religion or faith, but it means that you have a purpose, that you feel connected and you feel loved. And so That can be achieved through a religion or through being involved in a faith community. It can also be achieved through volunteering for a cause, going to the animal shelter, helping out a nonprofit out in the community. It can be having a job or work that is meaningful or purposeful. It's thinking about what is the purpose behind the task that someone is doing. It's not just doing it to as a diversion to pass the time, but actually thinking about how does this impacting that person? Are they actually interested in this activity? It can also be practicing mindfulness, and I think mindfulness is another kind of hot topic that people maybe get a little bit overwhelmed with. They think that it's supposed to be you have to do meditation and take all this time to sit and be zen, and who has time for that, especially when you're a parent. And it can actually just be bringing yourself back to the present moment. So I'd like to practice a quick mindfulness activity as a group. This is called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique. And this is a good way where if you're starting to feel overwhelmed, or you can use this with your child too, to bring them back to the present moment, back to help to regulate them if they're dysregulated. So we'll start with 5, and that is looking for 5 things around you. So take a moment, look around the room that you're in, and identify 5 things that you can see. So I can see the trees outside my window. I can see the desk that my computer's on. I can see my computer. I can see a glass of water, and I can see a piece of paper next to me. There's 5 things. Now I'm going to do 4 things that I can feel. I can feel the ground beneath my feet. I can feel that my hands are a little sweaty because I'm kind of nervous. I can feel that I'm sitting in a chair, and I can feel the clothes that I'm wearing. Then 3 things that I can hear. So I can hear my computer fan running. I can hear myself talking, and I can hear my kids downstairs. And 2 things that I can smell. I can smell my dinner cooking, and I can smell my shampoo from my hair. And then 1 thing that you can taste. And if you can't taste anything, you can think about your favorite taste. So my favorite thing is chocolate. So I'm going to think about chocolate. So you go through all your senses, and that helps bring you back to that present moment. And that just took a minute. And that is what practicing mindfulness is just kind of acknowledging your presence, bringing you back into reality, acknowledging that maybe you still are having those big, strong feelings, but kind of bringing you back and helping to regulate yourself. And then cognitive health. I think a lot of people think about this as being like your intellectual ability, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that. It is just having the opportunity to be creative or be challenged intellectually to the level that somebody is capable of, and pushing them, helping them learn a new skill. Arts and crafts are good activity for helping achieve cognitive health. And also reminiscing is another good one that doesn't require any materials. You can just talk about past enjoyable memories, places you've been, recalling happy times that you've had together, or looking at pictures, looking at videos from previous experiences are all good for cognitive health. So we're going to take all of this domains of health, and we're going to tie it into recreation and leisure. So what is leisure? Leisure is defined as your free time, or using your free time for enjoyment. And it is the free time that you have from your work or your duties as a parent, or running a household, or whatever you have to do to kind of maintain your day-to-day life. So if you're cooking dinner for your family, that is kind of a duty, or for yourself. Wordle is a good, Amy just typed, I think that was for our cognitive health. That's a great cognitive health one, and a good leisure activity. So leisure is, if you enjoy cooking dinner for your family, but that's a task, that's something you have to do, right? We all have to eat. So that wouldn't necessarily can be considered leisure. But if you really love cooking and maybe you're cooking a new recipe, or you're baking, or you're doing it and it really is bringing you joy and fulfillment, then that could be considered leisure. So making sure we're looking and kind of breaking down, like, did I actually have leisure time, or was I using it as within another task? And it's important to think about that leisure is not a luxury. It is not a reward for completing your tasks. It is a right. It is a fundamental right that everybody should have access to leisure and a time where they get to do something that brings them joy, that brings them fulfillment. And I think you need to remember this also goes for you as a parent, as a caregiver too, that you are finding leisure time for yourself, and that you're doing it without having to have strings attached to it, that, I can only do it if I complete this, this, and this. Like, no, that is, you can't pour from an empty cup. So leisure helps to bring back that joy, do something for yourself, and make you kind of overall happier and healthier person. So does anyone have any leisure activities that they enjoy doing that you can think of off the top of your head? You can put it in the chat. We have some pictures here with skiing, diving, skating, ride your bike, sailing, rollerblading, but it can be anything. It doesn't have to be physical. Puzzles and word games are a great one. Pokemon Go, that's with her son. Reading is another great one. Those are all gardening with herbs and flowers. Herbs are great because they're also, and flowers, because you're also getting that, is it good for mindfulness because you're getting the smells too. You're bringing in all those different senses. Going to the gym, that's a great one. So we're gonna, not cooking. Someone else cooking for you and you're getting to play your word games. That's a good one. So why is leisure important? It is important because it gives a sense of freedom, of independence. It can improve your mental health, increase physical abilities, increase quality of life. You don't always have to understand why someone's leisure activity makes them feel good. It might not make sense to you at all. You might be like, I love cooking, but for Amy, she's like, nope, I'm not going to do that in my free time. Or you might hate word games. So you have to think about what is the thing that you enjoy doing, but it might not be the same for your family member. But everyone deserves the opportunity to experience leisure and explore different leisure opportunities. So the other thing is people might not know what leisure activities are out there. What are the things that are available to them to do in the community, or some things they may not have even heard of because you don't know what you don't know. So you want to start with exploring those leisure interests. So this is a great checklist. It's called Uncle Tom's Leisure Interest Survey. It's actually for retirement, but I think it's just a great list of like a bunch of leisure activities. And you can go through this list, check off the things that you either have done, want to do, definitely know you don't want to do. And if you don't know what it is, look it up on the internet, go on YouTube, go to the library and say, I need to find a book on crocheting because I'm interested in learning how, but I have no idea, or you can just skip it. So we're going to pull it up here, our Uncle Tom's Retirement Leisure Survey. So it has a whole bunch. We got team sports, and then you can put your level of interest, like no interest at all the way up to a 5, very high interest. So it has team sports, individual sports, and it might have things that you've never thought of or never heard of or never even considered trying, like splunking, cave exploration. Maybe not something you have access to, but maybe you could still be a leisure interest, something you have a dream of doing and you want to do someday, and you can make a plan to make that happen. So looking at non-competitive individual sports, fitness, games, so board games, card games, collecting things, looking at different skilled crafts, looking at intellectual pursuits, learning about different topics, domestic arts, technical, and you can kind of go through all of these, check off what you want to do, and help you explore some things you might not have thought of before. So that's a good place to start. And then you want to think about, is the reason that you haven't done that activity or you haven't participated in that recreational leisure activity, is it due to the lack of opportunities? Is, there's no splunking happening in College Station? Or is it that you definitely have no interest? There's a lack of willing engagement in activity. That person and has never, no interest in doing that, so they're not going to participate because they're not interested. Is it a lack of functional skills, like you don't know how to do that? And it's not that you can't, it's just that someone has never taught you, or someone has never figured out how to adapt that sport or activity so that you or your child can participate? Or is it a combination of all three? Or is the lack of willing engagement because the activity was never adapted for the person to be successful at it? So there could be a combination of that. So think about that when you're looking at recreation and leisure. It can also change throughout your life. So something someone was not interested in when they were 10, they might, when they're 15 and in their 20s, have totally different leisure interests. So this is something you could explore, every year or two. So it looks like there's some chat going on about a rock collectors group, and we do have some good geologists on campus. So my husband has a rock collection, so maybe we should do that. We moved a box of rocks across the country with us. So then how do you take all those leisure activities that you just made this huge list, and you have like 20 things that you're interested in? How do you pare that down? And so a good place to start is to go through this list. So start a collection. What activities are you interested in doing? What could the collection be? Collecting rocks. You could start a hobby. It could be Pokemon Go. You visit a park. I'm going to go to Central Park. Do a social activity. I'm going to go to Teen Art Day at the library. Do a physical activity. Go to the gym. Do a mind challenging activity, play Wordle. Do a creative activity, do some watercoloring. Do an activity by yourself, reading, do an outdoor activity, take a walk at the park, and then other things. So you can kind of break it down into those different categories. And then within that, you can then make a specific goal. So to achieve something, you got to say you're going to do it, and then you got to make a plan for making it happen. So this would be a good thing to do maybe at the beginning of the summer, once when your kids are out for the school for the summer, and we need to make a plan for what are we going to do this summer. Let's pick a new leisure or recreation activity that we want to pursue, and maybe we'll set a goal for June and a goal for July. So you could say, I, Fiona, am going to start a rock collection by June 1st. And then I'll collect my first rock on June 1st, and maybe I'll have a rock collection by June 30th. And collect those rocks by going out on walks. So that is going to motivate me to increase my physical health, because I'm going to go out and move my body physically looking for those rocks. I then am going to stimulate my brain intellectually by learning about those rocks and what they're made up of. I find it purposeful because I want to increase the amount of rocks that I have. And so you're kind of hitting all those domains of health. I feel successful, which then makes me feel happy, which is fulfilling my emotional health. So by breaking it down and looking at what the leisure activities are, you can then work towards fulfilling the health within all those domains. So think about what you must do to reach this goal, and then is there anyone that needs to help you reach this goal? So do you need a family member to help you? Do you need a specialized instructor to teach you how to do that? Do you need access to a computer to watch a video on what that activity is and how to do it? So maybe you need to go to the library, or look within town if there's an organization that does that activity, and approach them on could they teach this specific activity? How could we possibly think about adapting it if my child needs adaptations or modifications, and how could we break that down into a way that this goal could be achieved. So we're going to start exploring some different ways for looking at leisure within our community. So starting with our local parks, both Bryan and College Station have great park facilities available for us. And so Bryan often puts out a Parks and Recreation guide, although I couldn't find this year's, but this is 2020. And it might be a little out of date, but I do like they list their parks with, scroll down to, you can look here at their parks, and they list it with the facilities that are available at that park. So let's say you want to go fishing. So you're gonna, fishing is right here on the end. So we're gonna find a park that can do fishing. So we have fishing here at Bryan Regional Park. So then we can look up here and say, okay, I know that I would like to go on a walk at a park, but I'm going to need a space to rest. And I'm not going to be able to be successful at this if there's not benches. So I'm going to look here, park benches. There are benches here at Allen Ridge Park. There are benches at Autumn Lake Park. So thinking about those things, so knowing what facilities are available will help to make that outing more successful. The Bryan Aquatic Center has a zero entry pool. So it's like a ramp going in. And then the pools also have a lift, but I would definitely call ahead just to make sure that, things break or people, maybe they don't always know how to use it, unfortunately. So call ahead, make sure you say, we're going to come, we're going to need to use the lift to get in the pool. Is there going to be someone there who knows how to use it? Is it in working order right now? So I definitely recommend, if it's something like that where you're going to need to use some equipment or something, to call ahead. Then if you have a problem accessing any of the facilities within Bryan or College Station, this link takes you to the ADA coordinator for Bryan, and this one takes you to the ADA coordinator for College Station. And if you have questions, you go to a certain bathroom and or a certain facility and the accessible bathroom is broken, these are places you can take it, let them know. You can file a grievance if you're feeling like you're being discriminated against. And how to contact them. So those are great resources just to know who to reach out to in your community. College Station also has a parks directory on their website. And you can look and search by facilities. So we can look and see, okay, I know that I'm going to need a restroom. I also know that I'm going to need shelter because I don't do well in the heat. So I'm going to definitely need some shade. So we're going to search and see what parks we come up with. So we got Anderson Park, Art and Myra Bright Park. So it'll break it all down, tells you what amenities are available. There's a paved trail here. So you know that that is going to be a more accessible place to go for a walk. So you can look everything up before you go out, and that will help you to have a more successful leisure experience out in the community at our local parks. Central Park is a really great park if you haven't checked it out yet. There's a park that's been designed for people with disabilities and for kids to play on. There are so many parks in our community that there's all these little neighborhood parks that people often haven't heard of. So that could be right there, your leisure activity. Let's explore one new park a week. And that could be your leisure activity for the summer. All Trails is a hiking website, and they have an accessible hiking. They have an accessibility team. Actually, small plug, but I do work for them part-time as well. So I am on their accessibility team, but it's free, and they have over 7,000 trails all over the country with accessibility information written up with information on the parking, accessible features, information on the grade of the trail. So is it flat? Is it steep? And and other, and then the type of like surface type, like is it gravel, is it concrete, is it like really bumpy and lots of tree roots. So they have a disability accessible park guide, which will tell you kind of the information that they have. But if you go to alltrails.com, it is a really great way to, especially if you're not local, if you're like, visiting family in another town or you're somewhere else for the summer, you can look up accessible parks in that area. So we'll go here, you can search by name. So we'll search Bryan, Texas, and all these trails come up. So these are trails that are on All Trails. And then you can filter by certain things. So you can look and say, I want a park where I can go biking or running or hiking. And then you can also look at the length, difficulty, and then a good one for accessibility is to click wheelchair friendly, stroller friendly, kid friendly, sometimes not always are also accessible, paved or partially paved. So we'll click wheelchair friendly, and then there's 7 trails on here that have accessibility information. So Park Hudson Trail is one in Bryan that is great for strollers. So then you can click on the trail and it will give you information on the trail, and it'll also give you accessibility information in the description. So you can read more about it. So this one says there's 2 accessible parking spaces in the parking lot on a paved surface. Both of them are van accessible with striped access aisles. The surface is paved, smooth, and typically at least 8 feet wide. The estimated grade is gentle, 3% are left, and there's accessible ramps at both trail entrances off Copperfield Drive. This trail will most likely be navigable for most wheelchair mobility equipment or strollers. And there are benches along the trail for resting. So all the accessibility information is hopefully under any trails that you search for wheelchair friendly on All Trails. So that's a great resource, and that's international too. So you can look if you're going to another country. The Disabled National Access Pass is a access pass where if you have a permanent disability, and this can get you a lifetime pass to all national parks. So this is for someone who has a accessible parking pass usually. So you'd have to read and look and see if you or your loved one qualifies. But there's a link here in the handouts that you have. You can go and look and see how you apply for that. So it's $10. You usually have to get a note written by a doctor confirming you have a permanent disability, but then you can go and visit all those national parks with that pass. Texas also has accessibility pass, which has to be applied for every year, but it is for permanent disabilities sometimes, and so you can apply for the pass on the website. There's also different ones for seniors as well as disabled veterans available. And then the Texas Park website also lists accessible features such as trails, fishing piers, restrooms, exhibits, and they'll list things for various types of disabilities. So for visual impairments, for deaf or hard of hearing, or for sometimes a list sensory friendly exhibits that they have available. So sometimes accommodations require advance notice, so you might have to call and request if you need like an interpreter or something like that. But you can look on their website and look at all of the accessibility information that is available. And then there's also, which is a cool feature, some online events here for Texas state parks. So that's a great way if you're not able to travel to state parks, you can look at their online events that they're having and learn about some state parks if you have someone like who's really interested in a certain topic or learning about. This is a virtual visit to Mustang Island State Park. So they're going to do some beach views and updates on the park on April 20th. So you might not be able to get out to Mustang Island State Park, but it'd be a good way to learn about that part of the state from your own home. So if you're going to go out hiking with your family, with a disability. Some, sorry. Some good questions to ask yourself are: how firm and stable is the trail? How steep is the trail? How wide is the trail? How smooth is the trail? Are the facilities accessible? Do I have cell phone service here? And so if the trail is relatively firm, stable, level, wide, and smooth, it's often considered accessible. But then those facilities also have to be maintained. So it might list that the trail on the park website is ADA accessible, but then it hasn't been maintained. And so you get there and it might not be. So it's always good to call ahead and check that facilities are maintained, or look on the park website for updates on facilities. So some local recreation needs, some of these you may have heard of. Providing Smiles and Understanding Needs is a club at Texas A&M, and Amy just wrote in the chat that there's a handout there with the handout from links to all of these programs. So we're kind of running low-ish on time, so I'm not going to go through every single one. But these are all links to take a look and learn more about these programs. And so there's actually quite a lot of opportunities in this area. So they're a club at A&M that will provide some recreation and support for families in the community. They're formerly known as Project Sunshine, so I think people know them best as Project Sunshine, but they're a great organization to reach out to. Downtown Association of Brazos Valley, they do a lot of community events, some camps and different activities throughout the year. Facets we all know about from Amy, and hopefully are going to offer some sensory friendly movies again this summer, so make sure you do her survey. Movement Therapy and Joyful Hearts Dance are two dance schools in town that offer some adaptive dance for people, specifically for people with disabilities. So if you have a child interested in getting involved in dance, those are great organizations to reach out to. We do have Special Olympics in town, so they're the ones for youth are through the school district. So reach out to your school district for Bryan ISD and College Station ISD to get connected. And then there's a road cycling Special Olympics group that meets on the weekends. And then there's also the Aggie Bombers are the adults Special Olympic League, and they do like flag football and basketball. They've done some unified sports over at A&M. So reach out to them. There's some horse hippotherapy and equine therapy programs, Courtney's Cares and Share Horses. Pride Baseball is a baseball league for people with disabilities. I think it's all ages. They don't have much of a social media presence, but that link will take you to an email to contact Jen, who organizes it, and they're a really great organization. Avocation Therapy is my company. I can do private pay. I can also kind of help you get you connected in the community, or help you think through how you can make something accessible or adapt it so that someone could be successful at that activity. I also have some connections with different groups in the community. Last summer I offered some sensory friendly bowling events. I did 2 of those last summer, so I'm hoping I'll do a couple of those this summer. So if you're interested in sensory friendly bowling, we went in early before everybody got there, turned off the TVs, turned down the music, and had ramps available as well as bumpers. So contact me if you're interested in that. Spirit Ice Arena does adaptive ice skating. They do it on Saturdays. It's at a different time than all their other classes, so it's a lot less chaotic, and they'll have one-on-one instructors for their participants, sometimes even 2-to-1 instructions. So I think it's about $25 per ice skating lesson there, and you can just go once and check it out, or you can go watch. College Station, and with Spirit Ice Arena, I've also taken clients who use wheelchairs there, and they let the wheelchair user you go onto the ice in their wheelchair. So you don't need to be able to stand up and use ice skates in order to experience ice skating. College Station Adaptive Aquatics is a summer program with College Station Parks and Rec, and they do adaptive aquatics. There is a kids pool free at Grand Station this summer. So if you think it's 15 and under, and you can sign up on their website. I think it starts like May 30th through the whole summer, and you still have to pay for shoe rental, but you don't have to pay for the time for bowling. So that makes it a lot more affordable. The Bryan College Station Library System has a ton of events and resources. And they recently started offering a sensory-friendly story time at the Bryan Library, where they're offering it to kids with different activities. So you don't always have to sit still and listen to a story. There's a whole bunch of different activities, and it's okay if your kids are moving around. So definitely reach out to all of these organizations if you're interested. There's some faith communities that have some special needs ministries. So these are some links. Does anyone know? Someone asked if disabled young adults can volunteer to read to little kids. That's a good question. I feel like that could be something you reach out to maybe the libraries. The library does like tutoring times, and that could be, you know, a time maybe someone goes and they're available to read with somebody during the tutoring hours of the library. So that could be a good resource. These are some camps that are in the area, so some links to them. Camp Life is a camp that Amy runs through Texas A&M, and there's a whole bunch of different ones. So those are specifically for kids with disabilities. I'm going to run College Station Campable in June. It's going to be a small group, only 10 participants, and we're going to do it twice a week for 3 weeks in June. So if you're interested in that, please reach out. The registration is in that link in this handout. So it's going to be for youth 6 to 12. And Camp Life does not have summer sessions. The next one will be in October. He's letting us know. But and then if your kid is interested in joining a camp that's not specifically for kids with disabilities, the best thing to do would probably be reach out to the organizers and kind of let them know what are the needs of your child. Because if you just say like, my kid has this disability, they might make assumptions about what your child does or does not need. And so let them know, you know, they could be successful if you can provide this, and this modifications or accommodations, and they may or may not be able to provide it. So it's always worth asking. And unfortunately, not all of the camps can provide the resources needed to be fully inclusive, but it's always worth asking. Some high school programs. Planet Fitness in the past has done a summer high school program. I'm not sure. This link I don't think is live right now, but hopefully they'll offer it again, where they offered free use of the gym for high school students over the summer. And BCS Fitness is a local fitness gym that does like kind of small group personal training, and they're doing a summer high school program as well. And they're a very inclusive, friendly place, and I definitely would recommend reaching out to them as a great spot to be inclusive for various needs. And Amy said she'll also be emailing out a list of camps that are going to be going on in the Bryan College Station area. So some virtual options for the summer, or for any time really. Cosmic Kids Yoga is a YouTube channel. It's good for mindfulness, yoga, and it makes it fun. And it's just like they go through different kind of games and themes. So that's a fun YouTube channel. Move United is an on-demand, we're going to visit this website, fitness channel. They do videos and it's free, and it's specifically for people with disabilities. So it's fitness challenges wherever you are from home. So you can register on their website. They're a nationwide organization, and they make fitness, it's a fitness platform adapted for different abilities and body types. So their classes range from 10 to 45 minutes. You get a high quality workout. You can sign up. So definitely a good resource there. And then these are some other ones. Chair One Fitness is this one I think you have to pay for, but it's seated workouts from a chair. And Special Olympics has a Fit 5 workout, which is on their YouTube channel for free. Adaptive Yoga Live is another online yoga program, more geared probably to young adults or adults, but adaptive yoga from your home that you can do seated. And so looking at how to figure out how to adapt it for different needs. And it has videos. And then Spirit Club Fitness for All is another online virtual training program that has specifically been designed for people with disabilities. So it has different virtual classes where you can join with supportive and accessible classes that you can do from home. So that is all I have for this evening. So please reach out if you have any questions. You're welcome to email me and or put them in the chat or ask right now. I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you so much for having me this evening.
Thank you, Fiona. That was a lot of wonderful information. I really, I just shared the link to, that should be the satisfaction survey. If y'all can take a minute just to fill that out for us, I would appreciate it. Yes, it is. So as I was translating the document into Spanish, I really like that the 5 domain section, because it really gave me a lot to think about with my kids, and am I doing what I need to do to try to hit all those 5, and how many of them possibly cover several domains, like Pokemon Go covers a lot of those, because it covers the physical health with all the walking, but also the social and with COVID, we had to be really more creative to figure out, okay, like we can't be with people right now, how can we do things virtually? And I know for Ty, he ended up creating his own Discord channel for other people that like Pokemon Go, and that really kind of turned into his own little community of other kids and people. And then when we met them for real, it was like, oh, you're whatever, you're kitty cat 2525, nice to meet you.
But he already had that relationship built from this virtual platform, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Someone asked, do I offer evaluation type consults? I do an evaluation, and I can either do just an evaluation and like write up some goals for you and do the leisure kind of exploration for you, and then give you like a consult of things to do on your own. Or I also offer private pay. I also can take the supplemental special education funds that came out of COVID through Class Wallet. So I can accept that money as well.
Since we do have a few more minutes, could you just explain a little bit more about what a recreation therapist does?
Yeah, so I think of myself as kind of the bridge builder between helping people get connected in the community and then breaking down the barriers to accessing those recreation areas. So I kind of meet my clients, learn about what their leisure and recreation interests are, and set some goals for what they might be wanting to achieve, what either their parents or family are wanting them to achieve, and then how can we use recreational leisure and make it fun to achieve those goals. So for example, I have a client who is learning to play with other children. And so we do a lot of turn-taking games and work on like sharing and trading, but we do it through like launching cars or playing Uno or going to the park and like looking at what are the parts of the park that are accessible and playing hide and seek, and kind of, but using it in a very like targeted way to achieve whatever the goals are that I set for them. I have other clients that we go play tennis. I had a client that I just helped get a library card so they can go access the resources at the library. So helping people to figure out how to access those recreation resources and making it more accessible and inclusive for everybody. If that makes sense. It's hard to like break it short.
That sounds like a really fulfilling job. That's
cool. It's very fun. I enjoy it a lot.
All right. Any other questions from anyone? That's all. I see there's some comments on there. if you want to read them.
Awesome. Really good. Got you thinking about things to do this summer with your son. That's wonderful. That's helped get you inspired for some summer fun and recreation and leisure. And if I can help in any way, please feel free to email me and reach out. I would be happy to chat.
Okay. Wonderful. Georgia, I think maybe that the message that you sent directly to me, I think maybe that was meant for Fiona. If that's correct. Well, I will go ahead and forward it to her because I think it was meant for her.
Yes, I can't figure out this thing on my phone as well as my computer. Sorry.
Okay. So I will copy that message and send it to Fiona.
Okay.
So she has it. And, okay. I'll have to take a picture of it because it's not letting me copy it. Let's go old school. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Fiona, for being here today. We really appreciate your time. You did provide a lot of resources. I have emailed everyone who is here today, should have received an email earlier today with the handout. All the links are live, so you should be able to just go and click on it. If you have a moment, please fill out that Qualtrics for us, that survey, just to let us know what you thought of today's session. And if you have any suggestions for future topics, because we will be planning pretty soon for the fall of 2022, and that feedback is really important. So thank you all for being here today. Thank you so much, Fiona. We appreciate your time and your expertise. And hopefully we will see y'all in May for our next session, which was friendly is not, what do we call it? Who remembers?
Friendly is not friendship.
Friendly is not friendship, right? So learning, right, the differences between friends and people who are just friendly to us and may seem like they're our friends, and that will be Robin Miller. So that will be another good session. Awesome. All right. Well, thank y'all so much for being here today. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Fiona. And let me stop the recording.